Cocoon Spawn Girls, Chapter 10. Gretchen pulls the van into the parking lot of Amendy's. The parking lot isn't too full, so we've come at a good time when they aren't too crowded. We all climb out from the back seat one by one and catch up with Tiki, who's already starting to open the door. Tiki finds us a table, and we all sit down. Two on either side with Gretchen on the end. Gretchen takes all of our orders with a little notepad and walks off to order it all, leaving us to chat. "So, has anyone got any team names already?" Tiki asked. King began to speak, but before he could even get a word out, Clarice had covered his mouth. "Okay, hear me out on this," Marcia began. "So if we go by powers, we've got my Beast Transformation, Soph's Fool's Night, Clarice's Pulsar, and then Tiki's Bone Flames. Powers don't entirely go together in any category, right?" The group nods and shrugs. She continues. "But if you take Tiki and Clarice's normal appearances, then add in Soph and I's powers, you get like a monster mash of monsters." "My normal appearance is totally normal," Clarice retorted, rising from her seat. King tilted his head. "If anything, her appearance is raised by being connected to me and my presence." Clarice stares at him, then slowly returns to her seat. She slumps, admitting defeat. "Ahem," Marcia coughs. "So what sort of team name could give you a group of a werewolf, mummy, haunted empty suit of armor, and like an alien puppet thing?" "Certainly not the Monster Mash Guardians," Tiki chuckled. I nod in agreement, arms crossed. Marcia strokes her chin. "Well, what about Monster Girl Guardians?" Clarice and I shake our heads. "It just doesn't seem right. Do we have to include the word guardian?" "I don't think so," Tiki shrugs. "I mean, I'm trying to think of any other group, and besides our individual guardian names, I think you can name yourself after anything that seems appropriate." "Okay then," Marcia grins, clapping her hands together excitedly. "So the question becomes, what do we do with Monster as a team name?" Tiki reaches over to my whiteboard in front of me, tapping on its corner. "Got any ideas to share?" I awkwardly shift in my seat, but I do scribble down an idea and thrust it around to show the others. Monster Coven blank. The others read over my board. King nods in approval. "So the blank is for one more word, right?" Clarice asks. I nod. "Monster Coven Cerberus!" Marcia shouts, pointing at me with a thrust. Tiki shook her head. "You're the only one here that comes close to being a dog." "Hey!" Marcia responds. Tiki scratches at some bandages on her face. "Look, what about we make up a word that sounds cool? That way looking us up is easier in the search engines." "Wait!" Marcia shouts, turning with a shock. "Is that what Fontavia is? I've always wondered what it meant. I just thought you guys used some big fancy word." Tiki threw her hands out to her sides in a large shrug. "What can I say? Guardian Holy came up with that, and it totally did work. Super easy searchability." I didn't want to say anything, but I also thought it was some kind of fancy word. "What about combining something with Morrow, since it's the name of our town?" Clarice proposed. "Maybe keep the Mar, or the O, for our new word." "This is so hard, I can't think of anything." Marcia rubs her head in her hands. "Plus, Mar is totally just half my name, so it would make it weird." She has a good point. "I wish we could do something with the first letters of all our names. But man, nothing you can do with TSCM." Clarice sighed. King stared into her soul. Even I could tell the message was something about why there wasn't a K in there for King. The table became silent as everybody thought hard about another suggestion. Man, names are hard. I keep thinking of ideas, but none of them seem like that good of a name. Maybe something fantasy sounding? Or perhaps we drop the monster part. We fight Spawn. Maybe we could do something with that in our name? No, the public doesn't know Magical Girls and Spawn are related in any way. We're practically cousins, sorta, hatching from the same breed of Cocoon. Haha. We truly are the same breed. I wrote out my next idea, turning my board towards the others. The Coven Bread. The others look at my name over on my whiteboard. Tiki lets out a, "The Coven is a witch, right? So that's a reference to us being magical monsters?" Clarice asked. Her hand rose above her, King leaning into her face. "Yes, keep up, girl." I waved my hand, trying to tell her the question was fine. "And breed fits nicely with us being some sort of new type of half-human, half-spawn creature," Marcia said approvingly. "You slap Guardian at the end of that, and you may call yourself that." I turn around to see Gretchen has returned with 2 handfuls of food on trays. "The Coven-bred Guardians, then?" Tiki asked, changing to a past tense. "Yeah. If we gotta have Guardians in there, that certainly flows better." She concludes with a nod. I hold my board up again. "Are you all okay with that name?" My board is met with grins from my teammates. "Sounds good to me," Clarice smiled. "Name only means so much, so it's perfectly fine here." Marcia agreed, more focused on the food in Gretchen's hand. "There we go then," Tiki patted me on the side. Can't argue with that. She puts a bandaged hand held out in the center of the table. The others look at her, then instinctively place their hands in with hers. I panically caught up and put my hand on theirs. Okay, girls, from this day forward, our team shall be known as the Coven-bred Guardians. I look forward to fighting alongside you all. Let's do our best. With that, all of our hands went up into the air in a cheer. Very good, but come along, the food's getting cold. Gretchen began biting into a hamburger. We all followed suit and grabbed the food we requested, chowing down on the momentous feast to celebrate the start of our lives under the new name. I finished my meal and dumped my trash. Then the others all finished up as well. I sat enjoying the feeling of being full. I felt like I hadn't had a good meal in forever. That then made me realize I couldn't name the last time I had something to eat. In fact, I can't think of a time since I woke up from the cocoon where I've eaten anything besides some pills. I wrote down a question on my board. This was worth getting my markers a little greasy for my fingers. When was the last time you guys ate? I think this is my first meal. Tiki and Clarice turned to look at my board. Marcia lay back in her chair, seeming in a food coma. Oh gosh, Sophia. This is her first time experiencing eating as a magical girl? You're in for a treat, Clarice grinned nervously. Don't tease her like that, Clarice. Everyone has to learn eventually. Tiki shook her head. She got up from her chair and came over to my side, taking my hand with both her hands. Sophia, darling, you are correct that we don't eat very often. And before I tell you this next part, why don't you try and focus on the good feelings you had while eating that food? Okay? I feel incredibly nervous as I slowly nod my head to show I understand. Our new autonomy as magical girls leaves us not requiring human food anymore. You may have already noticed your lack of ever needing to visit the restroom. Basically, to put it in a simple term, our bodies now subsist off a chemical released when we kill spawn. One kill can feed you for almost a whole month. So to not let anything go to waste, MGI collects all of that valuable chemical and packages them up as pills for us. Understand so far? So that's what the pills were about. Here I was thinking they might have been something nefarious about them. I give her a nod and try to go for my whiteboard, but she stops me. Okay, so your next question is probably about what happens now that we all ate human food, which our bodies don't need, right? She wasn't wrong. That was what I was about to ask, basically. Okay, so here's the curveball. She takes a deep breath. Basically, Marcia, annoyed at her taking so long, turns to us and shouts, Get on with it! Sophie, you're gonna have to vomit it all up tonight, and there's going to be some freaky spawn acid from your spawn stomach. Marcia! I was about to say that! Tiki shouts at her. She turns to me to begin assuring me it's going to be okay, but I can't seem to hear anything as my legs go shaky. All I can think about is how much I don't want to vomit. I hate that. I hate. So freaking gross. Clarice comes to my other side. I slowly drop to my knees with terror. Both her and Tiki comfort me on either side. Then another hand grabs me. Someone reaches under my arms and lifts me up to my feet. I turn around, and Fool's Night is standing behind me, looking down at me with its empty, helmeted eyes. I give it a shook look, shouting with surprise in my mind. It gives me an odd grunt growling noise as it tousles my hair. This for some reason calms me down, and he disappears as quickly as he appeared. Tiki and Clarice have both climbed back to their feet. Both seem as surprised as me to see Fool's Night appear. You feeling any better? Clarice asks, sheepishly, not sure how to react. I grab my board off the table and draw a smiley face and give her and Tiki a thumbs up. Tiki brushes my hair down, fixing it back. Good to hear. If need be, I can stay with you tonight until the act is finished if you need. Hold your hair out of the way and be emotional support. I start to make another thumbs up, but then stop and just leap onto her, pulling her into a hug. Ha! Tiki did not expect that and took a step back, nearly falling backwards. Enough horseplay, girls! Back in the van! Miss Gretchen orders as she marches us to the van. I let go of Tiki and shyly head for the door, pushing it and immediately slamming into it. I step back as I grab my head and pull, successfully opening the door and making my escape. I take a seat at the far end of the back seat. Clarice and Marcia follow after me. You okay, Sophia? That sounded like it hurt, Clarice asked. I made an okay hand sign. The van takes off, and we head back to the Morrowsville office. It's a quiet drive back besides Marcia humming some song or tune. Gretchen tells us we need to pick up the posters we're going to be hanging up from the office. Apparently the team has already gone ahead while we were eating and made them with our new name. It makes me feel like I'm part of something very professional. A ring in the van makes Marcia pause her humming tune. Gretchen's right hand reaches down for a phone built into the console. Tiki's in the passenger seat is leaning in trying to hear what is being said on the other end as Gretchen brings the phone up to her ear. She bobs her head as she listens to the voice on the line, only saying, "Okay, understood," before she places the phone back into the console. She looks up in the rear view at us, saying, "Hope you girls are ready. We're going to get a spawn attack on the south side of town." A spawn? A real spawn. Not one trapped inside a testing lab. A real one that's out there destroying stuff. My first real battle as a magical girl. I'm nervous, of course, but also brimming with excitement to actually get to fight a spawn with Fool's Night. Sophia and Marcia, I want you two to stay in the van for this one. I want Clarice to take care of this one with Tiki on support. Understood? My heart sinks. I'm about to write a response asking why, but Tiki seems to sense it and answers before I can write anything. Just watch and learn for this first battle, okay, Sophia? Next time you can totally fight it. Just see what it's like having to fight a natural spawn in a town with possible people all around. I reluctantly sigh and nod. Marcia wraps an arm around me, hanging on my shoulder. I'll point out all the mistakes Clarice makes while she fights. We'll have a great time. Please don't, Clarice sighs. King pats her on the head with his tiny green hand. Not to worry, Clarice. I'll make quick work of this foe. No damage will come to your new overalls. Clarice's frown curves into a slight smile. Thanks, King. Are your overalls seriously all you've been worried about? Marcia prods. Yes, they are brand new, I'll have you know. Had I known there'd be any dirty work, I would have worn something I didn't mind getting dirty. They're overalls. Aren't they made for working? Marcia's grinning ear to ear. Well, these ones are made for looking good in. Clarice's cheeks were beginning to turn pink. Trying to impress a boy or something? Trying to get some boys hanging your posters in their closet? She was laughing at this point, swinging her legs. Maybe it doesn't matter. So what if I want some fans with my poster? We all need fans now, don't we? King was patting Clarice's cheek. Enough, girls! Gretchen shouted back at us. Silence fell once again across the van. As we entered the south side of town, I can't help imagining what it's going to be like seeing a real spawn. I also really can't wait to see how Clarice and King fight. It's a mystery I'm excited to solve. The sound of panic and evacuation begins to be audible. We're getting near to the danger zone. King is shadow boxing in the air as he warms himself up. Clarice is doing some breathing exercises. Tiki, for her part, doesn't seem to be acting any differently. She's the most experienced of all of us, so I suppose she just doesn't get nervous anymore. The van comes to a stop. You're up, Gretchen barks. Tiki jumps out from her door, and Clarice climbs out from the back. The two of them take off around the corner, heading towards the sound of terror. End of chapter 10.